So how do you go from taking planet photos like this to taking planet photos like this? Well, this is one of my best photos of Jupiter I have ever gotten, and there's a few reasons for that. I would say the most crucial factor is seeing. If you don't have good seeing, well, no matter what you do, no matter what kind of scope you have, no matter what kind of optics you have, your images are going to suck. It doesn't matter how good of an astrophotographer you are. If you have bad seeing, that's going to screw up everything. Seeing is basically how much crystallization is in the atmosphere, how much turbulence, whatever you want to call it. But if you have too much turbulence, atmospheric turbulence and stuff, you'll notice it because it'll be kind of like wavy and planet will go in different weird shapes and everything. If you have bad seeing, it's going to ruin all your images. As I said, it's going to look either blurry, out of focus, even though it might not be. It's going to look kind of shifted. It's not going to look good. It's going to look blurry more than crisp and sharp. You're going to see more noise than anything else because you're going to have to want to sharpen it more. And that is a good sign of bad seeing if you keep having to have the feeling to tend to sharpen your image. That's likely bad seeing, not just the size of your telescope or other things. Now, if you have bad collimation, that's a different story. That can be fixed by collimating or telescope, obviously, but collimation is also very crucial because collimation will get rid of that, blur and shift artifact that you kind of see. Like sometimes you'll see like this little bit of shift off the planet where you see more of a planet than you think you should. That's bad collimation. You can also notice this when you're going to focus a planet. When you're trying to make sure your telescope's in good collimation, the planet should focus like this. So I mean it like focuses directly inward. If it focuses like this, horrible collimation. That is basically how it would focus in a bad collimation setup. Another thing I don't think I've mentioned before in my previous videos is processing. This is really crucial. If you're not good at processing, it's probably not going to turn out the way you hoped, because mainly for planetary, I'd say don't over process your images. I've had this struggle in the past. I've been doing planetary since I first started. I actually did planetary before I did deep sky. I've been doing planetary for a while now. I would say over-processing a planet image is like really bad because it'll make it look, number one, fake. Number two, you get all the noise pulled out. And I would definitely be very slow and precise when editing your planet images. That's another thing here. If you edit really fast, you want to just get unsharp mask in Photoshop, for example, instantly, and you just go all out, and or even Registack, you just turn the slider all the way up for the first slider and don't even give it a chance for other sliders. You're not going to get those really fine details out. So it's going to look kind of weird, and it's not going to look, as sharp and crisp and great as you hoped it would. So I would definitely recommend slowly processing your images to make them gradually look better until to perfection. Another good tip for when you're actually in the process of imaging, don't use too high power of a Barlow. This is actually really bad. Don't go over the f ratio that you need, or that's optimal for your camera and your telescope combo. Because if you over zoom in your image with the Barlow, this is gonna be really bad, especially because if the seeing ain't great, man, it's gonna look terrible. It's gonna be blurry and it's gonna be really hard to focus. It's just not going to be very good. You definitely want to make sure for sure that you're not using too high power of a Barlow for your current setup. I would definitely recommend, maybe if you have great seeing, and maybe go 1.5 times over if you have like that chance to, like if it's excellent seeing. But if you don't, I would not go that far with it. Mainly because the light in worse seeing, there's not as much light provided in worse seeing. Because the turbulence and everything, so the light isn't going to be as good. So I definitely wouldn't recommend oversampling. That's what it's called, oversampling. I definitely wouldn't recommend that, especially in bad seeing. Now, if you have really good seeing, the reason why you could zoom is because it's much more stable. The frames won't be super blurry, so you won't have to have as much light. So then you can zoom in a little bit more. But I still wouldn't recommend going too far over even excellent seeing conditions. Another really crucial thing is make sure you have good focus. I don't care if it's a little bit off, it's gonna be bad. So you make sure you have super precise focus. Especially, I know it can be hard to focus in bad seeing, but definitely make sure you have great focus, like no matter what kind of conditions you are. If you don't have good focus, well, yeah, it's not gonna look good. Another way to tell if the seeing is actually bad is try focusing the image. If it's hard to focus, you can't seem to get that good focus, it's likely that the seeing is bad. If you can easily focus and it gets crisp instantly almost, and it's not everywhere, not all weird shapes, it's likely that the seeing is really good. As I said, this is the #1 most crucial factor, is seeing. So make sure that is on top with what you're doing. And remember, this is just a hobby. Your images don't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect in this hobby. Like, this is just a hobby. So enjoy the images, enjoy learning about astrophotography, enjoy the experience. It's a lot of fun. I would definitely not recommend overwhelming yourself just to get the best images. This is another struggle a lot of astrophotographers make. Oh, and by the way, my name is Asher, and I make content all about astrophotography and astronomy facts. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to keep up with my latest content. Also, if you're having doubt because your 8-inch telescope isn't really doing very well, I have an 8-inch telescope personally. If you think maybe an 8-inch telescope isn't great, well, that's not the case at all, because this video will prove exactly why an 8-inch telescope has way more potential than you think it does. Anyways, until next time, clear skies.